Hey, I've had a lot of questions as of late about allocations. About, well, you're telling us what you're doing, but you're not telling us how much you're allocating. And there's really a multitude of reasons for that. I'm going to kind of walk you through them. But first, let me back up. And when you look at the email that we send out every week, it shows you 7 different models. It says a short-term index model, an intermediate-term index model, a long-term index model. There's a sectors model. There's an alternative asset class model. There's taxable fixed income and tax-free fixed income. So those 7 models. And so the way we really work things here is that if somebody wants to come in and pick a model that they want to use, they can do that only if they choose a fixed income model. If they want to come in and choose tax-free or taxable fixed income, they can do that, or they can choose both. But when we move over into the equity and the alternative asset class built models, we don't let them do that. The real strategy here is really based on using a multiple model setup so that there's strength in it. And if you'll think about the way a brick wall is built, a brick wall, the end of a brick doesn't sit directly on top of another brick. It offsets by half the width of the brick, and that creates less weakness in the wall and actually creates some strength in terms of just stability for the thing and the ability of the wall to crack and that kind of stuff. We know that every model ever built has got some weakness. It might have several weaknesses in it, but every model's got a weakness, ours and everybody else's. So we have purposefully chosen models that don't share weakness territories. Okay, if they have weaknesses, we try to minimize those by how we build the model and how we use the model. But then the other models we use it with, we try to make sure that weaknesses don't overlap big. And it's basically, if you're building a football team, you don't want all running backs. Okay, that whole thing. But the other thing that we do is we don't allocate everybody the same. And I'll give you an example. If somebody comes in and we look at what their situation is, we might think, well, gosh, we need 40% in fixed income. And then all the other 5 models, short, intermediate, long-term, sector, and alternative asset class, all 5 of those are going to get allocated among that remaining 60% of that portfolio. Now, if we equal weighted everything, all those 5 models would get 12%. But we don't always equal weight. In fact, it's very, very common for us not to equal weight, because some of that is also risk control. We're trying to manage some risk inside of that. So they get those 5 models, and then they get 1 fixed income. So they get a total of 6. If you do the math, it's about 17 or 18% per model on an equal weight basis, but we don't equal weight very often. Okay? So the thing you have to realize is that we're not telling you allocations for several reasons. One, it's just part of, if we just keep the lid on the box of some of the things we do here. Number 2, we want to look at suitability, and since we can't do that with you, how you're applying that to your client stuff, we're not going to tell you the allocation. We would manage to that. In other words, if we're managing the client's portfolio, we're going to manage to some specific parameters there. But we don't know who you're going to just take this thing from a written format or from a video format and just go try to manage money from it. So we're purposefully not telling you that. The other thing is that since we don't tell you the exact vehicles we're using, we'll just say it's an index. Well, what you don't know is sometimes we're going to use the leveraged index. Okay, so even if we said we're going to put X% into X index, well, if you don't know if it's a multiple leveraged vehicle, in other words, 1.5, 2 times, 3 times, whatever, then even if we told you the index and the percentage, you still don't really know the true percentage because of the effect of leveraging quite often. That means that at times we're going to be more than 100% invested. At times we're going to have 40, 50% invested with 50% in cash maybe, but we're really going to be about 70 or 80% invested. So there's a multitude of reasons we really don't tell you that the exact allocations and the vehicles. There's a multitude of reasons for not telling the specific vehicles. But we are looking at suitability for situations we're just unaware of, and we just don't want to get involved in a suitability situation where somebody's taking our information and applying it in a way that's really maybe not a way that we would call suitable for that particular client or that particular account or whatever. But so just remember, when somebody comes in our door, an individual client, they're going to get 6 models. They're going to get short, intermediate, long-term, sector, alternative asset class, and at least one of the fixed income. We don't let people come in and pick and choose and say, well, I want the short term and I want the sectors and I'll take the alternative asset. We don't let people do that. Okay? We're not order takers. And we think it's really, really critical that we not only not become that, but we stay as far away from that as possible. Because that's not really what we're here to do, is to just simply take orders from people. People will quite often chase returns. Now, I will tell you this, we commonly will focus on one of our fixed income models. And the reason for that is really it's a drawdown situation. Those models have just been very, very generous to our clients when you look at them. And in terms of the returns that can be generated there and the drawdowns that do or do not occur there, there's just a great relationship in those models. So we side with that because of the risk management tool that the models are built with. And so we'll tend to gravitate toward those. And again, if somebody just wants to come in here and say, I want your taxable fixed income model, that's fine. We'll let them do that. Or tax-free fixed income. But none of the other 5 models, we let them say, I want that one, or I want these 3, or something like that. We just don't operate that way. And again, that's part of the reason we don't divulge allocations, either in the written format or in the video situation as well. All right, we hope that helps. Hope you are doing well, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.